Good morning, YouTube, and today I have for you a B.E.S, or as I like to call, the B.E.S deck profile. This is an archetype that never really took off competitively, but has been quite fun and has its own kind of unique gimmick. They each have counters, and they can't be destroyed by battle as long as they have counters on them. So how do you make that competitive, and how do you actually use them? Well, we'll cover that as we go. Starting off with, we run a playset of Cannon Core. B.E.S Cannon Core, this is your level 9 monster. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon it. And then face up or attack or defense position. And then we run a playset of Mark III. This is your only other one that can be special summoned naturally by its own effect, and it has to be special summoned defense position. And then it has the additional ability that you can banish them from graveyard and shuffle all your B.E.S monsters that are in graveyard back to the deck, which is kind of nice. Moving on, we run two of the B.E.S Big Core Mark II. This can be normal summoned if you don't control any monsters. It kind of conflicts with the Boss Rush, which we'll get into here in a little bit, but it's a decent big attacker and a level 6. Next, we run two of the B.E.S Covered Core. This is one of your biggest in terms of attack stat monsters with your field spell that included here. And the nice part about him, his gimmick is that you have to flip a coin, and he may not lose a counter if you call it right. Then we run two of the Crystal Core. Crystal Core in itself is just simply by removing a counter, can switch the battle position of a monster. He's mostly here for the fact that he's a level 5. And then we round up our B.E.S monsters with Tetran. Tetran is spell trap removal by removing a counter, and he's also a level 6. Now, how do we mediate the fact that all these monsters in here are not normal summonable? Well, we try and find ways of getting their effects and other effects in the deck to go off without interruptions. So what's the easiest way to clear monsters without having to worry about effects? It is Kaijus. We run one Thunder King, we run one Jizukiru, one Dogaran, one Kumungus, one Godarla, and one Gamma Seal. These each have their own kind of little niche. Obviously, you have Kumungus and Gamma Seal being your smallest, and Jizukiru and Thunder King being your highest. But these four here in the middle actually have their own additional effect or application that we'll get to here once we get to the extra deck. And then we have, moving on to our spells, we run a playset of B.E.S Zelos and a playset of Boss Rush. Zelos itself is a wonderfully designed card. Whenever it's activated, you can search for a Boss Rush and add it to your hand. It gives you the additional protection of all your B.E.S monsters except for by battle. And once per turn, you can special summon a B.E.S monster, and that B.E.S monster gets a counter automatically. So automatically, just like 4 different effects in one. Great design field spell. Unfortunately, not enough to make them completely competitive, but it is your main component to making this deck actually pop off. And then the playset of Boss Rush, whenever at the end phase, if your B.E.S monster is destroyed, either by its own card effect or by battle, you can special summon a B.E.S monster from deck, and that is stackable. So let's say if you have 2 Boss Rushes and you lose 1 B.E.S monster, you get 2 monsters. A lot of people choose to not run 3. I like the fact that you can see it more and actually bring out more, and the deck is kind of bricky itself as it is, so it's kind of not that really big of a deal, and I find it not to be too troublesome. Then, continuing on, we run a playset of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. This is obviously to go with your Kaijus, and it synergizes very well with the Super Polymerization, which again will make more sense once we get to here on the extra deck. And a playset of Forbidden Droplets. Now, the nice part, again, the goal is to do this uninterrupted as much as possible. That's the kind of advantage that this version of the deck has. So Super Poly, the Forbidden Droplets, the Kaijus, they're all cards your opponent can't interact with. So that's why we run these in here, and that's kind of our niche that hopefully will give us an edge whenever we play. Then we run 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Terraforming, and 1 Metaverse. Obviously, you want to see Zelos as quickly as possible, or as efficiently and often as possible to protect your B.E.S monsters, so run Terraforming the Metaverse for that. Call by the Grave, this can be realistically anything. I used to play Pot of Desires, just for a little bit of consistency in the deck, but I feel like getting your Zelos to be able to pop off and get your Terraforming and your Metaverse in order to be able to, and your Kaiju Slumber to actually resolve is a little bit nicer. So you can replace this with any one off that you want to. Now, another difficulty this deck has is it can't usually go first, which is not usually a problem. Most people would prefer to go first, but if this deck has to go first, it can't. That's why we included the playset of Skill Drain. The effects don't really matter that much on field. I mean, obviously you'll be losing your encounters, but you'll have your boss rushes to hopefully be able to mediate and replace your resources as you go. So playing the Skill Drain is great to main deck. Now, moving on to the extra deck, we have our super poly targets. We have Mud Dragon, King of the Swamp. Godarla is your obvious one, Storming Venom, and Dragostopelia, just for kind of your generic ones. Then in this kind of format, you can replace these with whatever, whenever you're in a format that calls for something else. There are thousands of super poly targets. We play the Ubel, the Bak, and the Embers of the Ashen. Ubel works well for obviously against Ubel decks. Baka, there are at least a decent amount of Melodious decks going around, and she requires 2 Melodious monsters. And then the Embers of the Ashen, because it's at least certain points in the combo of Snake Eyes, they have 2 Pyros on the field at the same time, so it's an option. Now, here's the special treat. Well, we have Dynatank and Ultimate Great Insect. Dynatank, if you use your Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, you can make it by bringing out Dogoran and by going out to your Jizukiru. Okay? This gives you, his attack automatically will become 3,000 because that's Dogoran's, and it has the ability of doing some destruction, and it has the ability, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can bring back your Dogoran. I used to main deck the Pancratops, and you can side deck it if you want to. Pancratops also kind of works and gives you another option that way. Now, the really spicy one is the Ultimate Great Insect, which you use by making with Komungus and Godarla, because it requires a level 8 and a level 7 insect, which is quite difficult in most decks. However, it works fine whenever you run those 2 Kaijus. Since we run a large variety of levels, we can run a different variety of Xyz monsters. That's how we kind of wrap this up. You can replace these with Lynx, but I like to run them as Xyz. So Cyber Dragon Nova, we do run 2 5s, and then we can go into Infinity, which is your Omni Negate. We do run 1 Lars as your rank 6 option. He is a monster effect quick negate. A Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon as your 7 option, just for the burn damage, number 1, because he just does 1,000 different things, and 1 Sacred Tree Hyperion as your 9 option. And that is going to wrap up my B.E.S. Deck profile. This is a fun deck, I'll definitely say that. You can get a bunch of cheeky wins, because your opponent won't necessarily know what to do. Are you going to win every single match? Probably not. It definitely suffers from consistency and the component that the fact that you have no normal summonable monsters or main deck monsters that are below level 4. However, I feel like the rest of it kind of mediates and allows you to actually compete with this deck and have a decent time doing it. I hope you find something from this. Let me know what you would do a little bit differently down in the comments below, and let the other people know too, because it's always interesting to get other opinions, and this is just the deck that I found to be fun with this version. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.